Okay, so this chapter feels like things are starting to get moving again, if that makes sense. So picking up from the end of the previous chapter, we saw Shoto defeat Dobby with his great glacial Ager. And this chapter begins with Burnin reporting on her communicator that Dobby has been detained. Upon receiving this news, all the heroes on Kamino celebrate and praise Shoto for being able to defeat the Blue Flames. So yeah, I guess that's confirming it that Dobby was defeated in the previous chapter, which I guess we expected. They understand that they need to be up to the task and defeat the Nomu that's still standing, so they all continue attacking. So yeah, there was also still a Nomu there that they still need to take care of. These heroes comment that they are currently into one of the luckiest blocks because they were not sent to the same place as Kuniita, Gashly, or other dangerous escapees from Tartarus. All Might is watching the battle in the broadcasting room, almost in tears. He says that even with Deku being sent to the wrong place, the tide is in their favor and announces to all the battlefields that Shoto Todoroki has defeated Dobby. We then see a new location, the ruins of the Jaku Hospital, where Gigantomachia is imprisoned. Alright, so we're seeing him again. I know we've been wondering what was going on with him because we haven't seen him since the end of the previous war, like a year and a half ago, I think. It is there where Ashido, Mineta, Kodai, Yanagi, and Hononuki are, and they are happy with the news. Mount Lady is also there and stomps on some villains while saying that she was worried about Shoto, but in the end he showed what he is capable of. So this might be Chekhov's Machia at this point because he's got to break out of this, right? And he's got to have a big fight with everyone once again. And since Ashido is there, I'm assuming that she's going to have her big redemption because she was kind of supposed to have that in the previous war when she was coming face to face with Gigantomachia and that big moment, but she kind of dropped the ball almost literally, and that left the door open for her to have a moment later on in the series because obviously her character arc isn't just going to end there, but also this goes all the way back to when Ashido originally met Gigantomachia when he was looking for the hero Springer or the Springer Agency, which actually happened in Kirishima's flashback in the overhaul arc, I'm pretty sure. The villains didn't expect the heroes to intercept their strategy and suddenly appear there, and it's at this moment that we see the Liberation Front member who killed Midnight. Okay, so this guy's back. I was wondering what was going on with him and if he was just going to get off scot-free for doing that. He says that although the plan has been foiled, the heroes are just wasting human resources for nothing. This is the time for liberation, and those who try to interfere will be trampled on, like that UA teacher. Right after he says this, Ashido turns her gaze, and Kirishima appears at her side. He apologizes for the delay and says that the evacuation has been successfully completed, and now it's time for them to protect this spot with everything they got, just like Todoroki did. So I guess this is also setting up another final battle here, which was happening when this arc was first getting started, but we kind of went in the direction of the Toga stuff and then the Dobby stuff, so now we're kind of coming back to that. It looks like Kirishima and Ashido are going to be a tag team for the remainder of this arc possibly. Another new battleground is Takoba National Stadium, where the students took their provisional license exam. In it are Ojiro, Sato, Subaraba, and Sero, who appears to be worried about something. We see a few panels showing the flying UA as well, with Bakugo smiling and saying that it was obvious that Shoto would win. I mean, he's not wrong. The focus shifts to the parking lot where it all started, with Fat Gum and Aoyama surrounded by flowers. They are facing Kuniita, the fugitive from Tartarus mentioned at the beginning of the chapter, who analyzes their strategy. So this is a new villain being introduced here, or I think is being introduced. Maybe we saw them in a group or something in one of the panels earlier on in the series, because in this chapter we're going to see a lot of villains that we've kind of seen here and there but haven't really had individual spotlight on them. But this character kind of looks like a blanky version of Sheik from Zelda, kind of. He says that they separated the villains based on compatibility with each hero's quirks, and the ones that don't fit into any blocks were left at the parking lot. He doesn't know if this is trust, optimism, or naivety. Now that Dictator has failed, he is the newest hired gun sent by All For One. Dictator was that random villain that we saw back at the end of the Dark Deku arc when he was going against Class 1A. He calls Aoyama Aesop's bat and says that all the villains left there will try to kill him. Aoyama responds with a simple, merci. The location changes again, this time to the front of the central hospital. Present Mike shouts that Shoto has defeated Dobby, while Shoji is trying to dodge a giant spinner's attacks. He doesn't believe in Dobby's defeat and thinks it's just a strategy of the heroes to boost the morale of their troops. A flashback is shown in which Dobby turns his back on All for One and says that he doesn't need new quirks, while Spinner is slowly touched by the hand of the Demon Lord. He says that Dobby is strong and has a purpose in life, very different from himself. Spinner is commanding all of the mutant soldiers from the Liberation Front and says that for their and Shigaraki's sake, they will destroy the status quo completely. Meanwhile, Shoji thinks to himself that he is proud to be of the same class as Todoroki. So this is pretty cool. I really like that Shoji and Spinner are getting some spotlight here. I've kind of been waiting most of the series for this to happen. I do like these characters, and it's too bad that they really didn't get as much development as we thought they were going to get. At least Horikoshi is going to try to shoehorn it in at the end here, at least more so with Spinner. And I also like that Spinner has this purpose here, because that's at least where it's been headed, you know, the last 30 chapters or so, maybe even more than that. But as for him getting big here, as we just read, All for One jammed another quirk into him. We saw that All for One could like do this to people that weren't Nomus for some reason back in the Dark Deku arc, when Lady Nagant revealed that on top of her inherent like elbow sniper quirk, she was also given airwalk by him. And apparently the other main villains here were candidates for getting it, but Dobby refused, and that's very in character of him to do that. But I wonder who else got another quirk. Maybe Toga, possibly? I mean, she didn't show that she did, but maybe that's going to be a big reveal in her fight against Uraraka and Tsuyu once we come back to that. But I wonder if this is going to be Shoji and Spinner's final fight, like against each other. I mean, I would be down with that. Cut back to Kamino, where Shoto tells Ida that he overdid it and apologizes, but Ida says that he has nothing to apologize for. I'm assuming Shoto is referencing to his big final glacier Ager attack that he did to Dobby, which froze like a portion of the city, it looked like. Dobby wonders why he is still alive after all of this, and then a luminous sphere appears on his chest. I don't know what this sphere is, it kind of just comes out of nowhere. It's like a light emerging from the middle of his chest. The last place we see in the chapter is Gunga, where Endeavor reacts to the news with an indecipherable expression. All for One wonders if it is of relief or sadness, and Hawks warns Endeavor to not listen to him. So that's pretty cool too. Endeavor keeping his poker face straight to not let All for One know, like if Dobby lost or Shoto won or whatnot. All for One continues, saying that ignoring Toya and pushing the responsibility to Shoto was his choice, and that at that moment he is trying to convince himself that it was the right thing to do, that heroes have many things to protect. He concludes by saying that that's why you're going to lose, number one, while his fingers turn into different things. One releases a black goo, another begins to grow a face, another expels moon-shaped rings, another releases fire, and the last one becomes covered with thorns. End of chapter. So this is like the final panel of the chapter, and it looks really cool. But the most interesting thing here, at least in my opinion, is the fire, because to be honest, I have been waiting for All for One to reveal some kind of fire quirk, because it goes back to the whole dad for one theory, or All for One being Izuku's dad this whole time. Not saying it's guaranteed, because to be honest, I'm not even really sure myself, and I'm sure me just even talking about this is going to anger so many of you, and I'm not even sure what theory doesn't anger people nowadays, but it was said by Izuku's mom that Izuku's dad had a fire breathing quirk, and one of the suspicions was that All for One just used one of his many quirks as a cover, and one of them was, you know, just breathing fire or fire manipulation or whatever. Now obviously this is coming out of his finger and not his mouth, and it doesn't prove anything, but I still do think it's pretty interesting that we're getting this fire quirk reveal here when we're coming to the end of the series, when a big revelation like this would come to the surface. But like I said, I'm not married to this theory. It would be awesome if it was true, at least in my opinion, but you know, maybe some of you don't want it to be true, and that's fine. But let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you like the video, guys, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.